So apparently Rand Campbell has made a video, and one of the things that he asked was, atheists, if, let's pretend for a moment, God is real. So I want you to stop and pretend that God is real for a second. What would you say to him? Now, the only reason, I don't even know which video it was. I was watching a Robert Wallace video, and he talked about it, but him talking about it made me want to make a video. And the thing that's interesting about this question, well, not really interesting, it's expected of this question, is it's the same kind of line of reasoning that I got from him when I was talking with him in another hangout a while back. He uses this question because Christians like himself can't seem to imagine that we don't believe in God. They think that we're angry at God. They think that we're upset, that we think that God is evil, that we think that he exists, but we just don't like his attitude and the things that he's done. And since we don't like it, we want to push him out of our memory. So we're angry at God and we don't want him to exist. This is a question that kind of proposes that and makes the and it's supposed to expose the anger that atheists have at God. But that's not how it works. I'm not angry at God. I just don't believe he exists. But don't get me wrong, I'm not going to ignore his question. I'm going to try and fulfill it. So let's just pretend that all of a sudden, I wake up one night and all of a sudden I hear a voice in my head. I see a bright shining light or something or whatever. Something that sounds way out of the ordinary, and I've already deduced that it's not a human, that I'm not crazy or whatever. And, so all of a sudden I hear a voice that says, "So, I hear you have some questions for me." My first question would be, well, who are you? And they would say, "Well, I'm God." And I'd say, "Oh, okay. So tell me about yourself." And then see what he says. Why would I ask God about himself? Well, I honestly don't believe that if there is a God out there, if there is some omnipotent or some sort of intelligence out there, maybe it doesn't even have to be all powerful. It can just be really powerful, or what have you. Some sort of intelligence, some sort of deity or God that was responsible for creating the universe. I would just want to know who he is and what he thinks, because honestly, I don't believe anything in the Bible to be true. Like everything that Christians are like, well, God did this. God allowed, when the people were attacking the Israelites, God gave them, to the Israelites, and God did this. God blessed this person. God, did this for this reason. He freed the slaves in Egypt. All of these things. I think every story that is in the Bible most likely really didn't happen, or it was some, or if it did happen, you can't really give the credit to God. For example, within Judges, I think it's 11:1 or 11:9, where the armies couldn't defeat them because they couldn't drive the citizens from the valley because they had chariots of iron. Well, obviously, I'm not going to look at that and think, well, God can't really beat chariots of iron. Obviously, the scripture is saying to the effect of, this army could not beat, even though they had God on their side or whatever. God's army couldn't beat them because they didn't have the technology to beat them. And it's stuff like that lets you know that they give credit or blame to God for something that he didn't really do. The Bible was written by fallible men that worshipped a deity or a being and gave credit to him. So anything that I hear that God is this, God is that, God is loving, I have no reason to believe any of that. I mean, even if I went by what the Bible said, there's so many things that seem counterintuitive to that. so many things that seem contradictory. Whether I'm wrong or not, they sound contradictory. It seems like God is able to tell people not to do things and then does it himself, such as killing, murdering, and all that stuff. That he gives commands for people to rape, etc. So I would go at it with a clean blank slate. I wouldn't even think it was even close to the Christian God. Maybe given the ability of being omnipotent, because there can be evil gods, there can be good gods, there can be neutral gods. It's conceivably possible that these gods exist. Maybe not in our reality, but they're conceivable, given what we already assume about gods, that is. So, you ask me, what would I ask? I would just start from the beginning. Who are you? What are you? What are you doing? Do you really care? What's up? Give me the 411 so I can know. Do you want worship? Does it really matter? Am I going somewhere after I die? Ask all the basic questions that, maybe I don't know about, yet. I wouldn't yell at God for being evil. I wouldn't yell at him for being this or doing that or, raping people or telling people to rape. Because I think it was a human contrived thing, and giving credit to God and saying that they have the authority because God is on their side so they can do whatever they want. And God told them that they could rape them. That way it feels justified. So I wouldn't even, be mad at this God, because Christians have done a piss poor job comparing what they say about God, all of these qualities that they give him, and then what the Bible says. If God has all of these qualities that he's loving and kind and all that, then the Bible is just completely off. So I would just pretend that everybody has been dead wrong about what gods are, particularly the Christians or Muslims or just anybody that's ever even thought about gods. I would assume they're all wrong, and I would just start fresh. I would treat them like a stranger. Just meeting them for the first time, wanting to find out more. Obviously, if this is a big booming voice that's inside my head, I should probably pay attention. So I wouldn't mind taking time out of my day to ask him questions and figure out what he knows and what has he done, because I have no reason to believe that anything that Christians or Muslims that have proposed are actually true. So there you go. That's what I would do. I would treat that God like a stranger, figure out what he wants, figure out if he wants me or if he wants me to worship him or whatever, and figure out what I would do depending on his answers, just like anybody else. But what if it's the Christian God? Well, it depends on how he really is. I'm already confused on what kind of God he is, but let's just say God came down and he was like, whoa, okay, look, I got to clear some things up. That whole flood thing, not true. I didn't kill millions and millions of people. That was a story, and, yes, I created the universe, and I created evolution and science and all that good stuff, but I didn't kill everybody. These people were stupid. These Mesopotamian people, they experienced the flood, and they thought, obviously, the whole world had flooded as well, and then the religions had formed out that way. They'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Thank you. That's great. I'm glad you cleared that up. And then he went through and it's like, also, by the way, I didn't tell people to rape those. That was them being assholes. Well, okay, God probably wouldn't say assholes, but who knows? He works in mysterious ways. Anyways, so yeah, I didn't do those things. People were giving credit where it wasn't due. That's not how I operate. And then I would find out how God does operate. And then turns out he's awesome. And all he wants me to do is worship him, and he's given me the evidence that he exists. Just by the way that he's talking to me, it's enough, it's likely a good enough evidence for me. Or if he does something that makes me believe, because he's omnipotent, and he can reveal himself in such a way that I can know that it's him, I'm sure, because he is omnipotent. I would be like, oh, okay, fine, worship you? Fantastic, peace out. Let me go tell my mom that I'm not an atheist, because, she probably needs to hear this. There you go. That's how I would react. But what if God was a dick? What if he was like, fuck yeah, that was me? Those Christians got it all wrong. Or certain parts right. Yeah, by the way, I fucking cuss because I'm fucking God and I can fucking do that. So, haha. Because you don't know me, because I work in mysterious ways and I'm beyond all comprehension, so I can do what the fuck I want. I can drop F-bombs all I want. But yeah, I did that. I raped people. I told people to rape. I flooded all them. And I intentionally made extra kittens on the universe just so I could flood them even more. Because I really fucking hate kittens. Well, okay. Then I would say, yeah, you're being kind of a dick right now. And I totally get why even now I know that you exist and I believe you exist, but now I see you're a dick. So I don't know if I want to worship you because that's, why should I worship you? But if at the same time that God said, oh, by the way, you need to worship me or you're going to hell, well, shit. I guess I'll find the will and to want to worship you. But if you turn around and say, well, no, you need to love me and cherish me and, love me with all your heart and all your soul and all your strength, well, I'm going to be like, well, you're going to have to do something because at this point I have no reason to love you because I think you're a dick. So then I guess I would just be kind of screwed. So it really just comes down to the actual characteristics and qualities of the God that came down. So there you have it, folks. That's pretty much what I would do. Well, given all those situations, that's how I would handle each situation. But I want to touch on this again. Rand Campbell and G-Man and all of these Christians that are going to ask similar questions to this, like, do we think our morality is better than God's, or do we think we're more moral than God, or do we think that God was evil? We don't think that God, or we don't believe that God exists. What we're arguing is that the God of the Bible, his character is dickish. So please, 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 stop assuming that we are pretending that God doesn't exist because we're angry at him or because we think he's a dick. There is a big difference. It would behoove you to actually understand that and accept it. This is the Atheist Chef signing off. Peace. Not really interesting. It's expected of this question. It's the same kind of line of reasoning that I got from him when I was talking with him in another hangout a while back. He uses this question that he exists, but we just don't like his attitude and the things that he's done, and since we don't like it, we want to push him out of our memory. So we're angry at God and we don't want him to exist. This is a question that because Christians like himself can't seem to imagine that we don't believe in God. They think that we're angry at God. They think that we're upset, that we think that God is evil, that we think him. Now, the only reason, and I don't even know which video it was, I was watching a Robert Wallace video, and he talked about it, but him talking about it made me want to make a video. And the thing that's interesting about this question, so apparently Rand Campbell has made a video, and one of the things that he asked was, atheist, if, let's pretend for a moment, God is real. So I want you to stop and pretend that God is real for a second. What would you say to